back to my channel. So today I'm going to do a October wrap up. I can't believe October has already passed by just like that. I feel like it was the quickest month, which is unfortunate since I really enjoy October. I've postponed filming this video reason the light suddenly starts changing. That's why I think the sun is about to set. So I'm just going to go straight into it because I have 17 books that I read this month. I don't really understand how that happened. It might be because 5 of them are graphic novels and you could read those in a couple of hours. So I'm just going to go straight into it. I'm just going to start from the very first book that I read this month, and then I'll just quickly tell you about my thoughts because I think for some of these I've already given a short resume. So for those, I'm just going to skip the short introduction as well. The very first book that I finished in October was Given Our History by Kristyn J. And this is a romance book, obviously set in autumn, and it's set at a university as well. I think it's in Maryland. And just like the university setting was just perfect, I think, for this book. I think I ended up giving it 4 stars because I really enjoyed it. So the book is about Clara, who's an assistant professor at a university, and her ex-best friend, he also gets hired at this university, and they have to share an office. And we don't know why they stopped being friends and what happened, like how close they were before their fallout, with chapters that are written in the past and then the present as well. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it and getting to know the characters through these like small snippets you got of their past. So yeah, it was a 4-star read for me, this one. Definitely had the autumn vibes, I'll say that. The second book I read was a graphic novel, that was Sheets. I've mentioned this one because it was on my TBR list, and I'm glad that I managed to read it. I also think I gave it 4 stars. It was really enjoyable, more sad and a little more serious than most of the middle grade graphic novels that I've read. But I actually really enjoyed it, and I think it suited the story very well. The artwork was also really unique. I don't think I've seen anyone who had a similar art style to this one, so that was really cool too. And I think, again, it fitted the story really, really well. The next book I read was The Dangers of Smoking in Bed. This is a short story collection, all in the horror genre. And I will say that the degree of horror in these stories was very different from each other. Like some of them were really creepy and just terrifying, and others were just very strange and very weird. Like there were certain stories that I enjoyed a lot, and then there were other stories where they fell a little flat for me, I will say. I think the first story in this one was maybe one of my favorites just because it was really creepy and it definitely set the tone for the book. I also think the cover fits it very well because it was this uncannily weird kind of vibe there was to a lot of these short stories. So I'm glad that I read this one as well. The next one was also a graphic novel on my TBR, and that was the Séance Tea Party, and that was so cute as well. I especially enjoyed the drawing style in this one. I thought it was adorable, and it was very autumnal as well because there are parts of it that takes place over Halloween, and it was just really heartwarming, and the characters were very cute, and yeah, I just thoroughly enjoyed it. And I think I also gave this one 4 stars. It was kind of like the month for 4-star reads, I think, and then a few 3 stars as well. The next book was The 13th Child by Erin A, also on my TBR, so I'm so glad that I managed to read this one as well. This one is a heavy one, like it's a thick book. I think I've already told a little bit about the story of this one, but it's a girl whose godfather is the god of death, basically. And it's about her life and like the way he shapes her life, and also the way she takes agency over her own life. I think I had very high hopes for this one because I'd heard a lot of great things about it, and also just the premise of the book was really interesting. The cover is stunning, but I feel like the book was maybe a little bit too long, and I was kind of taken out of the story a couple of times. It's also very obvious that they're like kind of like 2 stories in one. Like the first half is very different, I think, from the second half of the book, and I don't even know which part of it I enjoyed more. But it just felt a little bit like 2 separate stories, I think. And I never really felt like I knew Hazel, the main character, that well. I will, however, say that I think this is my favorite characterization of death that I've ever read in a book. And I've read a lot of books where death is like a character. And I think in this one, he seemed the most real and the most layered. And I really enjoyed that. I would have loved to read more about him. He's unfortunately a little absent in the book for a good reason, but yeah, I would have loved to read more about him. I think I gave this 3 stars, maybe. The next one was also on my TBR, and that is The Bewitching of Aveline Jones. And this gave me all the same vibes as it did the first one. It's just always very creepy when kids are like kind of the villains. I don't know, there's just something very creepy about that. And this one definitely gave me those vibes. It's perfect for people who like a little scary, but can't do like too scary. Like this would have been too scary for me when I was younger, I think, but right now it fits me perfectly. I really enjoyed it. I'm so happy to have the 3rd book as well. I'm gonna read that one in winter though, because it's winter themed and I'm excited about that. I actually have another short story collection, also on my TBR, I think, and that is The Lottery and Other Stories by Shirley Jackson. I basically bought this book because I wanted to read The Lottery, and then I also just wanted to read more by Shirley Jackson. And I'll definitely say The Lottery was my favorite one in this one. I didn't know what it was going to be about. I just knew it was going to be like wild, and I definitely dropped my jaw when I read the final page. I enjoyed a lot of these short stories. Like some of them made me laugh out loud, and some of them just made me very furious. Shirley Jackson was so good at writing these stories where you never really know where they're gonna go, and for that reason I was at the edge of my seat throughout most of these stories, because I never knew if they were gonna end up being like really creepy or horrible, and then sometimes I would have just been so anxious about nothing because like the point of the story wasn't even what I thought it was gonna be. And that's kind of what I enjoy about her stories. You never really know, but you're just always prepared for the worst. And yeah, I'm very glad I read it. Very glad I finally read The Lottery. I feel like that's a short story everyone should read, and you can easily find it online as well. So highly recommend that one for sure. Then I kind of got into a Kindle phase because the next 3 reads were read on my Kindle, and that they weren't for free, unfortunately. I did have to pay for them, but they were kind of like surprise books and books that weren't on my radar until I found them. So the first one might be like the biggest wild card, I think, for this month, because it wasn't a book on my radar at all, but once I read it, I just knew that it was gonna be like at least a 4-star read for me. And that was Pumpkin Spice and Poltergeist. And I mean, from just the cover, I think you can tell that this is a very Halloweenish book, and it is. It's in this small town, kind of like Stars Hollow, but in this town, humans and vampires, witches, werewolves, all these creatures, they live side by side. We follow this girl who gets a job with her sister. Her sister owns a small bakery in this town, and I forgot her name, but I'll put it on the screen. And she's kind of failed at a lot of things, so she really wants to do a good job here. And then she's one of the main characters, and the other one is a witch whose ex-girlfriend has unfortunately passed away. And by accident, she summons her ex-girlfriend, and she won't leave her alone. And she thinks that maybe the only way to get rid of her is by falling in love. So her ex-girlfriend's ghost is kind of like haunting her while she has to find love in the small town. And obviously, these 2 girls, they find each other and they go on dates and stuff like that. But they're also like different because one is a witch and one is a human. There are all these other creatures in town as well, and it was just so much fun. Like definitely didn't take itself too seriously, and I don't know, I just really enjoyed to read a sapphic love story that was fun in this way, because I feel like oftentimes they are very serious and a little sad as well, but this one was just a delight from the beginning to the end. I think I gave it 4.5 stars. It was just a delight. I think I read it in less than 24 hours as well, because I just flew through it, and definitely had all the like Stars Hollow, small type, autumnal vibes. I can definitely recommend it if you're looking for a quick read. The next one is actually part of a series. I read both of the books. The first one is called Off the Beaten Path, and the second one is called Only in Your Dreams. In Off the Beaten Path, we follow Ren and Holden, and this is definitely an opposite attracts love story. So they're neighbors, and they're not really getting along very well. Holden is a single dad, and he's like very stern and very serious looking. And Ren is more of a like happy-go-lucky girl, and she is renovating this house that she wants to rent out. Holden ends up helping her with the this house, and they of course get closer, and like I can't say too much, but I guess like it's a romance, so you probably know what's gonna happen. And I'll say one of the reasons why I picked this one up was because I saw the second book called Only Your Dreams was about a best friend's brother and a story where the guy falls first, and those are like some of my absolute favorite books. So absolutely love when it's about a brother's best friend. I love friends to lovers as well, and I also love when the guys fall first, and especially if they fall harder as well. We follow Finley and Gray, and Finley is the sister of Holden from book 1, and then Gray is Holden's best friend. Gray has had a crush on Finley for years, but she's never shown any interest, so he's kind of been dating around. But finally, a situation occurs where Gray and Finley get a chance to become closer, and they start out fake dating, and then obviously one thing leads to another, like it all often is with these kind of books. So yeah, you kind of follow their story and also like how they become friends and learn more about each other, because Gray has also kind of been adopted by Finley's family because he doesn't come from a very loving home. I really enjoyed that aspect and really understood where Gray was coming from and why he was the way that he was. And he was just like the cutest, like he was really, really sweet. I enjoyed this one, I think, more than the first book, but that's also just because I tend to enjoy friends to lovers more than enemies to lovers. And it was more so a sunshine trope. Also just love when like the guys are the golden retrievers or the sunshines. So yeah, definitely enjoyed this one. I also think I gave it maybe 4 stars, 4.5. But yeah, highly recommended. And then I have another graphic novel, and that was The Moth Keeper. Really enjoyed this one too. It was a lot deeper than what I was expecting, and there were times where I'm not completely sure I understood the story, and I've been reading reviews and others said the same thing. There were parts where it wasn't very obvious where the story was going or like what was being said. You kind of had to read between the lines. I think everyone probably has a different experience reading it, because you'll come up with different things. But the art style of this one was absolutely beautiful, and it just had like a very serene feeling to it. Also because there wasn't that much text in the book, so a lot of it was just like pictures and the passage of time and things like that, and it was done in a very, very beautiful way. So I really enjoyed that one as well. Then I read I think it's a YA horror story called The Voice Upstairs, and the cover is really, really creepy. I will say that the book's not as creepy as the cover, but it's still like eerie, and it takes place at a mansion with this like very rich family, and this girl who ends up becoming a maid at this house, despite the fact that her best friend is the boy who lives in the house as well, and he really is against her working there. Also because a few people have passed away while working here, and one of them is our main character's mom. So that's why she's here, because she wants to solve the murder. She's pretty sure that her mom didn't just pass away by natural causes. And our main character can communicate with the dead, but they are not like outspoken. They can't tell things directly to her. She can't have conversations with them. She can just get like vibes, or she can feel their emotions. So if they're very angry, that's something she can like feel when she goes through the veil. I saw someone compare it to like Downton Abbey if it was a horror story, and I feel like that makes a little bit sense, to be honest. It also takes place after the First World War, I believe. So it's a historical horror YA story, also with a side romance. So kind of like a lot of things, but I think they made it work. The book was a little long, I think, not like page-wise, but just because there were a couple of chapters where nothing really happened, and it was mostly just like vibes, or it kind of felt like filler sometimes. But I really enjoyed our main characters, especially Theo, who is our male main character. I found him really enjoyable to read about. And I also think I just might have a thing for like old money, anxious guys who study. I don't know, is that a type? It might be. I'm thinking Gansey from the Raven Cycle here as well. Like, there's just something about them. Like, rich boys who go to like fancy schools, but they don't really like that they are higher in the hierarchy than other people, and they kind of like want to fight that, but they don't really know how to do it. It's kind of like that vibe. And then, you know, like a little like nerdy, but like well dressed with glasses. I don't know. I just kind of enjoyed reading about those guys, and Theo was definitely this to a T. I enjoyed that a lot. I enjoyed the characters, and I think this setting was amazing as well. Then I read 2 other graphic novels. They were also on my TBR, and that is Garlic and the Vampire and Garlic and the Witch. They were super short. I read them in like a night, I think, both of them. And it's about this Garlic who is super anxious, but she has to go and visit the vampire who just moved into town because she's a Garlic, obviously. And luckily, the vampire is really nice, and they become friends, and he's also in this book, and they go traveling together, and it's just really cute. Like, the vampire is maybe one of the most wholesome characters I've ever seen in a graphic novel, and Garlic is really sweet as well, and the relationship she has with the other vegetables is also just very cute. And this, I will say, especially the second one, Garlic and the Witch, it took a turn at the end that I didn't expect, but I really enjoyed them. Highly recommend them if you're looking for something quick to read, especially around this time of the year. I have 3 books left. I feel like I've been talking for ages. But the first 2 are also kind of part of a series, and I know everyone's been reading these, but it's the Pumpkin Spice Cafe and it's the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore by Laurie Gilmore. I mean, the covers are just stunning. I will say I picked these up because of the covers and just because I'd seen so many people rave about them. And I also have a couple of friends who said that they were worth reading. So I enjoyed them. Like, they're very, very quick reads. I will say, like, I've read both of them and they're the same genre, but I have no idea what this genre is. I will say the covers, they kind of give cozy murder mystery. Like, a lot of those also look similar to this. But they're also romance books. And there is a little bit of a mystery, but it's like not really a part of the plot. And then there's a lot of spice in them as well. And I mean, I guess I should have guessed from the Pumpkin Spice Cafe, but I was just not prepared for that. And it's also very like insta-lovey. If you've ever read the description of these books, it's pretty much what the books are about. Like, there isn't anything else to them. There isn't like any deeper levels or things that happen that aren't mentioned on the back. So if you're not like intrigued by that, maybe I wouldn't pick them up. Both of them are romance stories taking place in a small town. And I realized while reading these that they kind of follow the same pattern as a lot of other romance books, where the first book is always like a grumpy sunshine trope, and then the second book is always friends to lovers. I don't know if that's just me picking that up at the moment. We follow Logan and Jeannie, and Logan is a grumpy farmer, and Jeannie is a city person who's recently moved to Dream Harbor, the name of the city, and she has to take over her aunt's Pumpkin Spice Cafe. And then it seems like there might be a ghost, or someone is at least trying to wreck her store, and with the help of Logan, they figure out who it is, and then, of course, the 2 of them also just like fall in love. But it's definitely very insta-lovey. I enjoyed the second one more, the Cinnamon Bun Bookstore. This one we follow Hazel and Noah, and they are friends. Hazel owns the bookstore in town, and Noah is a fisherman, or like a sailor. And Noah's had a crush on Hazel for a long time. Hazel starts to get these clues in the books in her bookstore, like there are lines that are underlined, and Noah wants to join her on the adventure of like enjoying her life before she turns 30. Like, she's scared she hasn't lived her life fully in her 20s. So he decides that he wants to help her try to like experience a lot of different things and just have more fun, because he's really good at that, and Hazel is a little more serious. And again, this is a friends to lovers. Maybe that's why I enjoyed it more. I really enjoyed that Noah was the more fun, outgoing, flirty one of them, and Hazel was a little more serious. I think they fitted very well together, and I enjoyed their chemistry. So I enjoyed this one a little bit more, but again, it's like a very like just the average romance book, I would say. It's not like anything special. It's not something you haven't read before, and it's not for people who want like a deeper understanding of characters or like deeper layers in books. These are definitely if you're in the mood for a cozy book and a quick read and something that's autumnal. I will also say This cover is misleading because it doesn't take place during autumn, only for the last couple of chapters. It's actually a summer book. But I think it was because this one sold so well with this cover that they changed it to this as well. And finally, we have a book that I'm in the middle of. I think I'm going to finish it today, maybe tomorrow, but I just want to be able to post this video in the beginning of November. So that is Cleopatra and Frankenstein. And I read this author's other book, Blue Sisters, last month. Really enjoyed it, gave it 5 stars. So that's why I wanted to pick this one up as well. And so far, I'm enjoying it a lot. I really like the way she writes. Like, it's very pretentious and the characters are not that likable at all. But it's so obvious that these people aren't necessarily good people. They're just very layered and they feel very real. I just saw reviews for this one and it's actually rated very low on Goodreads. A lot of them are frustrated with the characters and they think they're like horrible people, and they are, but like bad things also happen to them, so it's kind of like karma. I don't know, like for some reason I don't really mind it, and I think it's just because all of them are kind of annoying and pretentious and not that good people, and it kind of makes it okay when all of them are this way. So yeah, so far I'm enjoying it a lot. I'm very curious to finish it and to see where it ends up. We follow different people in every chapter, and they're all connected to this main couple, Cleopatra and Frankenstein. They're just called Cleo and Frank, and it's an age gap love story, but also maybe like a love drama. I'm not even sure I would call it a love story. There are certain aspects of it that feel a little more problematic than just like a love story. So I'm very eager to finish this, and also I love the way this author describes New York. It really makes me miss it. So yeah, I'm excited to finish it. And that's going to be my final book of October. So yeah, definitely read more books than I thought I would. And there were a lot of surprises too. A lot of books that I didn't have on my TBR list. But I'm so glad that I picked them up anyways. I wanted to read the Raven Cycle this month, but I didn't get to do that. So I think the second I finish this, I'm going to pick up the Raven Boys, and I'm so excited. So they're going to be in my November wrap-up video, hopefully. I feel like I've been talking for hours, so I think I'm going to end the video here. I really hope you enjoyed it. I would love to hear what your favorite read of October has been, and maybe also if you have some books that you are very keen on reading next month. And other than that, I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. Bye!